Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. We are a little bit late today, so thank you for being patient with us. I am Sarah here at Rogers Gardens doing our Saturday edition live stream. We do live streams every Friday in the afternoon at 4 and every Saturday at 9 o'clock, and we are busy. We're so busy today. We are getting still ready for Halloween, so still Halloween stuff is happening and changing every day, but now we are also getting ready for Christmas. So you can see behind me, we have all of these big trees going up, so those are being put up, and you'll see people walking back and forth behind me, large ladders, putting up all the ornaments, and we are also getting ready, which I'm super excited for, and you're gonna hear some noise happening. Dave Bush, which is our main garden area that you see when you first come in the front entryway, where you always see the famous train that gets put in every year. We are getting prepared and prepped to put the train in the garden for the Christmas display garden. It's going to be a really, really cool theme. I'm super excited. This is my third year helping design that. It's totally an honor to be able to do that. I have been a Rogers Gardens customer for such a long time, and then it's something I always really enjoyed, and then to be able to be part of designing that is seriously so fun and exciting, and doing the train is just so fun and whimsical every year, so we're really excited for that. But today what I'm going to be talking about is all of your fall veggies. So we are getting ready for planting our fall vegetables. People say there's not a lot to plant in fall, and I totally beg to differ because this table is full. I wanted to put even more things here, and I had to kind of control myself a little bit, but this is all the beautiful stuff that should be planted in fall. So we're, our tomatoes are starting to wind down. I have just a handful of tomatoes left that are kind of producing, but the tomatoes towards the end of the year don't really taste as great as they do in the summertime. My peppers are still kind of trudging along, but they're starting to wind down as well. So it's time to pull all that stuff out, prep your vegetable gardens. David did a fantastic live stream about how to prepare your beds, so you can go back and watch that on the Instagram page and on our Facebook page, and he tells you all the great tips and stuff. And then today I'm going to be telling you what you should be planting. So this is a time for all of our leafy greens, our cruciferous
Cruciferous.
I was practicing that word. Vegetables, that's your things like broccoli and cauliflower, cabbages, kales are great, bok choy. So I just kind of pulled a little bit of my favorite stuff. When I'm planting my fall stuff, I like to go for kind of the weirder things that you're not gonna find necessarily in the store, just because it's fun. I get to pick the stranger things and bring them into my house and use them in all my recipes. And it's just stuff you're not gonna really find, even in going to all the farmers markets and things. You don't necessarily see some of these varieties. So it's really cool to have something a little bit different. So some of my favorite things to do, I love all the different kinds of kales. And I love how pretty the kale is. Kale's such a beautiful vegetable, and it pairs so nicely. So even just these three together are so beautiful. This is the Scarlet Kale. It's a really beautiful ruffly kale. When we start getting cooler, it gets even purple, more purple and darker. So the color really gets very vibrant when we start getting cooler. And I love combining it with a pretty blue kale together. Just looks so beautiful. My fall beds for vegetables almost rival my other beds for all of my ornamentals, because you just can get really, really beautiful stuff. And then I also really love doing the Dinosaur Kale. The Dinosaur Kale is a flat leaf kale. This is really great when you're using it raw, because it tastes really nice. It's just a lot more tender, and I really, really like this one. We also occasionally get one in called Black Magic. I couldn't get it this week, but it's something that we typically can bring in. And Black Magic is also a really beautiful, tender, flat-leafed kale like this. The other thing that I absolutely love growing is radicchios, and look how beautiful this head is. This is the most beautiful radicchio ever. I love radicchio. It's not something you see typically in grocery stores. Sometimes you do, and it's just the little hard purple heads, but we can get such unusual, beautiful varieties and grow these, and they're just beautiful to look at. I love edging my veggie beds with this, and I really like using this in different things where you just wilt it a little bit into like tarts and things like that. It's really, really great. I also do really, really well with Bok Choy. So I have an area where one of my veggie beds at this time of year gets a lot of shade compared to how it is in the summertime, just because of the way the sun tilts. So I do really, really well with all of the Bok Choy. So if you're someone who struggles a little bit with your sun exposures, Bok Choy is a really, really easy one to use. And I love this purple one. And again, these two mixed together are so pretty. They're so beautiful, fantastic for stir fries. It's a really, really vigorous plant. So you will have tons of Bok Choy. And usually you have multiple plants within the containers. And this purple one, again, once it starts getting cooler, becomes even more vibrant. So it's very, very beautiful. Oh, we have questions. Yeah.
With regard to bok choy,
Yes.
do you need to separate those out when you plant them?
So
do you need to thin them?
You can, for sure. If you're growing from seed, definitely thin your little seedlings as they come up. With something like this, because there is quite a few, I definitely would separate this a little bit, because I would probably separate this into 4 separate clumps. It's okay to have 2 growing next to each other, because I always like to harvest some when they're really small, so they're the baby bok choy style, and then I like to let a couple of them get big. So even when if I don't separate them completely individually and I have 2 next to each other, I always know that one of those will be picked a little bit earlier than the other one. So absolutely, that's great. And that's gonna lead me right into, that's a perfect question, leeks. I adore leeks. Leeks is one of my favorite things. So easy, hardly takes up any room. And I love getting them small. I love having them let them go for quite some time so I can have a nice big leek. They're wonderful to cook with, and you always get multiple leeks within, I know you're hearing beeping. You always get multiple, and I always thin these out for sure. I don't thin them out completely one by one, but I always make sure that I do multiple clumps. So on this one, I would say I could probably get about 6 clumps with these leeks. These are the King Richard leeks. I really like this variety. And we have another question.
Actually, it's not a question, but
Okay.
just a shout out. We have somebody in Rio de Janeiro watching us,
Oh.
so hello.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. This is so great. I love doing these because we get so many different people tuning in. It's really nice because you don't even have to roll out of bed and come into the nursery. You could come in and see what we've got going on. If you don't want to come into the store, you can also watch these, give us a call, and we can do a curbside pickup for you as well. So if you don't feel like venturing in, you can always use that too, which is great. So some of my other things that I really enjoy and I do really, really well with is I love chard, and I love the 5-color Swiss chard. You can see in here, we've got so many different colors just in one little container here. You've got red, you've got yellow, you've got white, you've got this pretty little pink guy right here. This is really great. This is definitely one that I would thin out. But the 5-color Swiss chard is really great. And again, if you're struggling with some sun and you have an area in your bed that changes in the wintertime, this is a great one because it doesn't need full hot all day long sun. It could handle it, but it doesn't need it. And we got another question.
We're getting actually multiple questions
Okay.
about the process of thinning. So I don't
Okay.
know if we want to do that towards the end
Yeah.
or what you'd
Well,
like.
we can actually do that right now. So there's a couple of different things we're talking about when we're talking about thinning. Thinning, we do, and I also do a lot of seed too for my fall. When I'm planting a row of radishes is one of my favorite things to plant in fall. This is a really fast sprouter, so it's nice because it's kind of an instant gratification thing. I also can get really fun varieties that you can't really get in the stores. The French breakfast is my all-time favorite. I started doing the Easter egg when my daughter was young because it was just fun to pull them up and have them all different colors. But I take the seed and I make a little trowel in the ground just with my finger, and I spread the seed through that. When it starts coming up, you'll notice you have a ton right next to each other, and if you have too many, they're crowded. So you just have to pull those little sprouts so you're getting space between your plants. If you have too many plants together, they crowd each other, and that's a big problem. So you have to thin as we go. Jonathan was talking about how he has a hard time thinning his seeds because he feels guilty, but your plants are going to be way happier not crowded. Sometimes when you get your plants grown in a container, and a start is what we call this, you have tons of plants all together because they basically did kind of the same thing. They threw a bunch of seed in there, they let it all come up, but when you're planting this, you're going to actually take it out of its container like so, and you see all these roots here, and you just have to carefully pull this apart, and you can see as you're going all these individual ones. So you actually pull them away from each other, and then that way you don't have them all growing next to each other. They're all crowded out. They're not going to be as big and full, and you can have a couple next to each other, but this is way too many. So you know, 1 or 2 next to each other, even 3 is okay, but having too many like that, they're going to struggle a little bit as they get older. So that's the process of thinning. Some of the other things that are really great to do right now, lettuces are fantastic to do. It's nice because you can get them very tender. I love growing lettuce from seed too. I find it's even more tender. The gourmet mix is one of my favorite seeds to use. David Rizzo, who I'm sure you've seen quite a lot too, this is his favorite one he uses all the time. We can get all the pretty speckled ones. It's really a great time to start all of your spinach from starts or from seeds. Seed is still good to do, so we carry a lot of different seed varieties for our spinach. It's also fantastic now for your celery is really great to do, and peas. Celery is fantastic to grow in the garden. It's really a beautiful plant, nice and tall too, so it's always great to pair that next to your leeks because they have that tall linear shape together. And peas, I love growing fresh peas. It's so nice. I think most of my peas don't even make it into my house. It's one of those things that as I'm gardening, I'm picking them and eating them as I go. I very rarely bring peas into my house because they all get eaten outside in the garden. We got another question.
So for the celery in particular, when it grows big and tall and you harvest it, do you still keep the root in the ground? Do you
You can kind of do both. It depends on what you're doing. I like, if I'm making a recipe or I'm doing something I don't need a ton, I will sometimes side harvest and just pull out some of the side pieces and allow that to continue to grow, especially if I'm being impatient and my plant is still kind of small. I'll side harvest around multiples. I always buy my celery in a 6-pack like this. Growing them individually, I just don't feel like it's much bang for your buck, basically. So it's nice when you do need to use some, but your celery's still a little bit too small to actually harvest the whole entire thing. You can pull a bunch from a little bit of them. I do the same thing with my chard. I very rarely harvest a whole entire thing of chard until it's getting towards the end and I could tell that it's about done for it. I always side harvest from them, and I very typically that's how I treat my celery as well. And another question.
In addition to what you have laid out here, are there other things that you would recommend starting during the fall?
Yeah, so I think this is a great time for herbs too, especially your perennial herbs. It's really nice to be able to get your herbs in the ground. Once we have a little bit of a cooling trend, you can get them in the ground and they can get through this whole entire fall and then the winter and get all that great rain from our rainy season, and then just be stunning in the springtime. So some of the really great ones that I love to plant now, and these are your perennial herbs, is rosemary, of course. These are my 2 favorite rosemaries. I love these because they have a much larger leaf and they have a very upright habit. So it's just a little bit easier to harvest from. It's Spice Island. I don't know which one I have on which end. Spice Island and Barbecue. These 2 I absolutely love. I find that they're very similar. There's not much of a difference. So if we don't have one, I'll go with whichever one we've got. But they're really nice and they have such a nice big leaf to it. Thyme is a great one to get started right now, perennial. This is just your typical green thyme, but we also have a lot of different fun varieties. And again, I'm all about the unique stuff. So my garden, I can buy this in the store, but this one I probably won't be able to find. So I love all the silver thymes, lime thymes, orange thymes. We have a ton of different varieties. One of my really favorite ones is called pizza thyme. It has almost an oregano-y kind of flavor to it. It's got a nice big leaf, easy for harvesting. Also sage. And also, what screams fall than sage, right? This is like such a Thanksgiving staple. Bird Garden is the very common gray one that you find in the store, but then we also get the variegated varieties that are also super, super pretty. So this is a great time to get them all established in the ground. And then back to peas, just make sure with peas that you have a really nice trellis for them so they can run up and actually attach. I'm gonna make Jonathan tell me the name of this one because it's our French pea.
Okay, so I think it's called Caroubi de Mouzanne.
Okay.
I think.
That's way better than I would say, honestly. What I like about this one, and the reason I pulled this, is instead of just the typical little white flower that you see that looks similar to I can't think of all of a sudden of the name that I want to say, of the sweet peas that you see, this one actually has a colored flower. So it's a pink and purple flower like a sweet pea. So I really like growing this because, again, it's got that very decorative look, but then it produces an edible pea pod, which is really fantastic. And I like mixing the two, so I have that white and I have the pink and purple going up. And people often think, because they see the two mixed together, that they're sweet peas. They don't actually realize that those are my edible peas. One other really good thing to start right now that's a little bit different is garlic. So we do sell garlic starts. They look like the little bulbs here. You pull them out individually and you plant them, each individual little clove, into the ground. It's a bit of a long game with garlic, but the flavor is really, really great with this. So it is something a little bit different that you can do. I also love doing beets right now and carrots. And again, the weird varieties are all my jam. I'm totally into it. Gourmet blend is so super pretty. I love, you could cut this open, and it's not just the red ones. They have all the beautiful orange ones as well. This is a really fantastic one for juicing. Also, the greens on this is really fantastic. And I absolutely love golden beets. They're my favorite for roasting. They're so super pretty and they're really, really tasty. And then also when it comes to carrots, this is my favorite carrot to grow from seed. So this one here is called Cosmic Purple. It's a really beautiful purple carrot, but it's also a really tasty purple carrot. I do find sometimes purple carrots are pretty to look at, but they almost have too much of a strong kind of musty flavor that I'm not really into, but this variety is really fantastic. David Rizzo was the one who turned me on to this one, and it's beautiful. And I know it doesn't have a really beautiful picture on the front, but it is a really fantastic purple carrot as well. Is there any more questions? No? Okay, I want to show you what we're doing at Dave Bush. So let's walk over there so you can see what's happening. It's really exciting. Again, we're doing so much here at the gardens, getting ready for Christmas time. The trees are starting to go up. We do have our Halloween room open with our pirate theme, which is really fun, so you can kind of see two things going at once. But this is our Dave Bush area here. Hi guys, you had no idea you're going to be on a live stream, but here we are.
We're live stream.
You're on a live stream. So this is Mark Wright. Mark Wright is the one who puts our train in for us every single year. So the train track is going to go here. We're going to have two different levels. He's been doing this for us for how many years now, Mark?
20 years.
20 years. Amazing. So I've been working with him for 3 years now. We're getting ready to get this all started. It's going to be super exciting. Our opening day is October 7th, so we have a lot of work to do. It's coming up really, really fast. But when you come in, this is where you'll see the Christmas train, and this will stay here until New Year's Day. So it's a really fun, exciting thing to come see at the garden. We have a really, really great theme this year. Today's live stream is a little bit of a hint as to what we're going to be doing, but you just have to come in and see. We'll also do a video and post that video, so if you can't come into the store, you can even watch the video. Once we're done, we always do a nice little video montage of what we wind up doing here. So thank you so much for joining me. I've had so much fun today. It's been a really kind of different day for us, but that's always fun. Next Friday, Ashley King is going to be doing her very first live stream. She's going to be talking about her 5 favorite perennials to plant in fall. So be sure to share this. Watch all of our other videos that we have on YouTube. We always post all of our live streams on Facebook. as well. You can always shop our online boutiques. You can call us and do curbside pickup as well. We are open. We do require a facial covering. Soon our hours will be 9 to 6. Currently it's 10 to 6. Be well, be safe, and happy gardening. Bye guys. Hopefully that was loud enough.